Good afternoon. Let me begin by acknowledging that we've been joined by Chris Shorter, who's the Director of the District's Department of Public Works, Jeff Meridian, the Director of the District's Department of Transportation, and Peter Newsham, who is the Chief of Police for the Metropolitan Police Department. Today, we are here to talk about additional ways that we will enforce the rules of the road in the District of Columbia. We know that from infrastructure to enforcing all these rules are key in keeping our roads safe for cyclists, pedestrians, and motorists. We know that we've got to find even more ways to keep our streets and sidewalks safe for all who use them. On any given day, we have a lot of people moving around our city. We're 700,000 plus strong, and we know we swell to over 1 million each weekday. Not only do we have many people in our city, we also have many new ways that people are getting around the city. We pride ourselves on being a city that is walkable, and as we work towards a more sustainable future, we also encourage people to use environmentally friendly modes of transportation. So regardless of how people move around the city, our goal is that the government is going to do everything that we can to make it safe to do so. So when it comes to road safety, we all have a role to play. For drivers, that means knowing the rules of the road. And let me be specific that we're focused today on bike lanes and making sure that our bike lanes are free and clear for bicycle usage. Vehicles should not be driving or parking in bicycle lanes at all. Delivery trucks are one of the most common bike lane offenders, parking in bike lanes while they unload and load. This practice forces cyclists to swerve out of bike lanes and into traffic. And we know that these are incredibly dangerous movements. Unfortunately, parking tickets have not proven to be a tough enough deterrent. So with this in mind, Director Shorter and Meridian are sending letters this week to the United States, to the United Parcel Service, FedEx, and the U.S. Postal Service, making it clear that we need their support to keep these parts of the roadway clear. We've all heard that saying, we've all heard the phrase that we need to walk a mile in a person's shoes. The same is true for how our bicyclists experience our roadways. So with that, I'm going to turn to Director Shorter and ask him to talk about what we are doing to step up enforcement of bike lanes, including our new bike force.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Again, my name is Chris Shorter. I'm the Director of the District's Department of Public Works. Let me start by, again, thanking the Mayor for her leadership, particularly as it pertains to Vision Zero. Safety is an issue she has championed and prioritized throughout her time in office, the results of which have certainly saved lives. I'd also like to echo the Mayor in thanking the men and women of DPW's Parking Enforcement Management Administration for their work in keeping our streets safe every day. The men and women behind me in particular, I'd like to especially thank for volunteering to join our bike force. Yep, that's okay. Yeah, you can do that. Today's Bike Lane Blitz is the first of several that our parking enforcement team will be conducting throughout the district in the months ahead. As the mayor said, the bike lanes are for bikes. Vehicles parking and idling in bike lanes will be ticketed, and the fine for that violation is $65. To be clear, parking tickets are a tool and not the end goal. The goal is to enforce the law and create safe conditions for cyclists, pedestrians, and motorists. I'd also like to note that in addition to bike lane tickets, there are a range of citations that our parking enforcement officers issue to help protect cyclists. These include citations for things like parking too close to a stop sign, which impedes a driver's ability to see cyclists. Double parking, which creates obstacles for cyclists, causing them to swerve into traffic, and illegally parking in loading zones, which pushes delivery trucks into bike lanes. For these infractions and many others, our parking enforcement officers write thousands of tickets each year. One of the challenges associated with writing tickets for bike lane violations is that because our officers are currently required to place parking tickets on windshields, the cars often pull away before our officers have the chance to serve citations. To correct this problem, we're seeking to change the district's code that will allow bike lane citations to be mailed in cases where a driver drives away before officers can issue a ticket. Once this change is enacted, we expect a sizable bump in the number of bike lane tickets our parking enforcement officers are issuing. And finally, although it is only October, as DPW director, you'll have to forgive me, snow is always on my mind. As winter approaches, I want residents and visitors to know that along with streets, bike lanes are part of the district's snow plan. This includes unprotected bike lanes through our regular plow servicing through our regular plows, and protected bike lanes, which we utilize special equipment capable of maneuvering through those narrow bike lanes. Generally speaking, these bike lanes are cleared before, or I should say after, the roads are cleared, so that our plows don't push snow right back onto those bike lanes. It's a very important component of our snow program, and one that we have added in recent seasons. Thanks again to the mayor's leadership. And with that, I'd like to close and invite Director Meridian.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Director Shorter. And again, thank you, Mayor Bowser, for your leadership and for your commitment to Vision Zero. As we know, Vision Zero requires education, engineering, and enforcement. DDOT's team has worked very hard to build and maintain our city's infrastructure. We work very closely with our colleagues at the Department of Public Works and the Metropolitan Police Department to ensure that the appropriate enforcement is in place. And I want to again commend on behalf of the DDOT team, your enforcement team, Director Shorter, for the outstanding work that they do. We share in the enthusiasm for the new bike force, as we think it will be a wonderful complement to the enforcement operations that our agencies have in place. I do also want to acknowledge Greg Billing and the team from WABA, who help us with the public engagement and public education components of Vision Zero. Earlier this week, we announced some of the steps that we'd be taking to further Mayor Bowser's commitment to Vision Zero. We talked about the installation and addition of new right turn on red, no right turn on red requirements in at least 100 intersections throughout the district. I'm pleased to say that our team from DDOT is here on site right now to do one of those installations today as we work aggressively throughout the city. We also announced a commitment to add additional infrastructure at some of the most dangerous intersections throughout the district. And our team is hard at work already beginning to identify and dedicate time and resources to making those deployments a reality this year, starting this year. We also announced that we'd be expanding our pickup and drop-off zone program to alleviate some of the pressures that are on our roadways in order to create spaces both for commercial deliveries and for picking up and dropping off of passengers. We made several other announcements that will help further the momentum that we believe we have begun to see around the Vision Zero effort. And so I want to again thank DPW and their team for this important step in enforcement. And we at DDOT look forward to working together with MPD and DPW to help deliver on Mayor Bowser's Vision Zero commitment. It's now my pleasure to turn it over to Chief Peter Newsham.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Director Meridian. Thank you, Director Shorter. And of course, thank you, Mayor Bowser, for your commitment to the safety of our drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists here in the city. It's part of the Metropolitan Police Department's mission to ensure that streets are safe for everyone in the district. In order to protect all citizens, it's important to ensure that drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists all follow the rules of the road, and it is our collective goal to change any bad behaviors to prevent unnecessary injuries and eliminate fatalities. Today can also serve as a reminder to some that not only is it a violation to block bike lanes, but it's also extremely dangerous. MPD officers and the folks you see behind me from DPW can attest to these dangers as they utilize the district's bike lanes on a daily basis to do their jobs and respond to incidents throughout our city. As part of the Vision Zero Blitz, MPD will be focusing on 4 major areas that can be particularly hazardous to the hundreds of thousands that share our roadways here in the District of Columbia. Those areas are excessive speed, distracted driving, impaired driving, and motor carrier safety. MPD will deploy resources across all the police districts that will be dedicated to Vision Zero and will maintain a highly visible presence, particularly along routes where our community members have raised the most concerns. I'm certainly aware of the frustrations and the many transportation challenges that we have here in the District of Columbia, but I believe that we can achieve the mayor's goal for Vision Zero through a little patience, consideration, and when that fails, through enforcement. If everyone, cyclists and pedestrians included, obeys the speed limit, obeys the traffic signals, drives sober, and drives undistracted, if no one blocks the box or no one blocks the bike lanes, if everyone uses and respects the crosswalks, we won't have to issue a single ticket. But if they do, we will. And I want folks to remember, at the end of the day, our goal is not to write tickets, but our goal is to make our streets safer, reduce the number of injuries that we have, and more importantly, reduce the number of fatalities that we have here in our city. Thank you. We can take any questions that you all might have.
Tess,
On my way here.
hold on 1 second, please. Can we take the press questions and then we'll take community questions? Tess?
Yeah, Mayor Bowser, do you think that the city streets are unsafe right now? How would you categorize it?
I characterize them as always in a state of improving and having improved safety. We talked at length about our efforts to improve traffic safety Monday and Tuesday. One component that we're talking about today is better enforcing our traffic laws and specifically around bike lanes. We know that this year we have experienced 31 motor vehicle and traffic related deaths, including in vehicles, drivers and passengers, motorcycles, pedestrians, bicyclists, and a person on a scooter. And so we want to see all of those numbers go down. And one way that we will do it is by reducing speeds, keeping people from running red lights, enforcing distracted driving, and making sure people are paying attention to what they're doing. And today, what we're talking about is making sure our infrastructure is as free as possible of impediments, and that includes our bike lanes. Yes, sir.
Chief Newsom, on my way here, I asked an MPD officer to enforce the blocked bike lane and crosswalk, and he responded that that was DPW's job and drove off. How are you communicating to your officers that this is a shared responsibility, not just this week, but all of the time?
Let me answer. So that is part of what we're doing today, to let all of our officers know that it is part of their responsibility for traffic safety in all 8 wards, 365 days a year. We do think, I know that Director Shorter has listened to his enforcement officials, and that they need to be more nimble. And this is one effort that we're trying by putting them on bikes. We also talked about the additional legislative authority that we need from the council to help them make the enforcement tools stick.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.